Now I wanted to get into some trends in beauty in particular and zoom into sort of Konvy's brand ecosystem, right? And maybe you can share a little bit about how that brand ecosystem has evolved in the last year. Are there any specific trends in terms of new products that you're seeing that has become more popular in Konvy's platform? Or I think Konvy also has some white label brands as well, right? Any new white label brands that you've explored over the past year?
The way we started our private label was to capture markets that are there and has yet to be captured. Our motto for this, both for our e-commerce retailings or is it our private label, was to innovate, to foresee what's out there, but not to be the second followers. So for the private labels, we do see there's a lot of people concerning about skin style. We do see a strong search volume coming from men's skincare. People start to care more about the product they use. In the past, it's more coming from never used for men, for example, right? Never used to have something to use.
Yeah.
And they stick with that for years, right? I want to take one of the sentence that coming from my employees from Philippines. She has been using the products for a long time. Right? I wouldn't name the products. And she thought that's a norm to have after washing, using the cleansing water, and the skin is dry. She does, it's okay. And she just applied different type of skincare routines on her face until recently when we entered Philippines and we brought some of the best-selling products in Thailand into it to let them try. And then she, as a content creator, she has to try it herself. So this is her first time stop using her own routine cleansing process and start using the product that we introduced. And this time I visited Philippines last week and she told me that this is her first time knowing that cleansing her face, then it's not dry. It could be moisturizing and it's refreshing. And because of that, she started to share that experience, right, of how that could have changed. But the last 3 years, she's probably hurting herself using those kind of products. So those are the things, the values that we do see that the market is still missing off. And we're trying to build this application, our own app or our ecosystem, and introduce people that there's good products out there for you to try. Not everything that you are using right now is the best. Sometimes you just give yourself a push and then try some new products. If you don't like it, you can go back. Right. But don't give up on trying.
Yeah. I think you're basically sharing a Konvy DNA with your customers as well to go out of their comfort zone, try something new, see if it works. I also wanted to talk about trends in terms of expansion, right? Because this, I think, has been a significant angle as well for you guys to go regionally is to essentially grow with the brands that you work with. I think you mentioned in our last podcast that there have been a lot of brands, both locally and say from Northeast Asia, like Korea, Japan, China, that are also interested in going beyond Thailand and going to other Southeast Asian markets. What are some of the trends there that you've seen from these brands and how are you helping them expand regionally as well?
Thai brands are very strong in the regions. There's a lot of customers coming from Laos, coming from Cambodia, also from Philippines and Malaysia. They came to Thailand to buy products. And it's not that they don't have products to buy in their own countries. It's just that Thailand has a very strong supply chain that I always mention, and they have very strong brand genes. Right? And because of that, the market is very competitive. I wouldn't say it's as competitive as in China, but I would say that probably one of the top 5 in the world. Thailand is one of them for beauty markets. And because of that, competition creates the benefits. It goes to the customers, right?
Right.
So the brands have to continue to innovate. The brands have to always thinking about what suits the market better. Because of that, the brands are very strong in Thailand. Indonesia probably have, as a population, there's triple times more than Thailand's. They have half of Thai brands. No, they have half of the number of brands in the markets. So if you ask yourself, this is much less option for you. Imagine Thailand have a 50 men's skin. I don't even think that there's a 50 men's skincare. Probably there's a 20 men's skincare. And let's say in Indonesia, probably there's only 10. You know, for you, there's only 10 brands to choose. There's quite a little numbers. Because of that, we are thinking that take some of the strongest Thai brands out there in the markets and let them compete for market share. We think that the products do have advantage over those local ones in other countries. Yeah, and it's difficult for Thai business owners to go to other countries. One, you don't know it's going to fail or not because predominantly you have to invest a lot of money to make a brand's popular markets. And usually this initial investment is quite big. Most brands do not have the courage to to do these initial investments.
Right. Right.
Because in the first few years, I would say it's definitely a losing business for them. And this also takes a lot of effort for them to build the teams. In the same time, they have backyard. Their backyard in Thailand is already competing heavily, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're diversifying your energy to another countries, are you going to lose a market share in your own country or not? So a lot of the brands do not seek for active expansion to other countries. And again, Konvy can be these players to help them go to other countries. For them, they're giving us a sole distributorship. Go there, they're risk-free, right? They're risk-free. They just provide us the products. We do everything for them. That's why this year I did a big announcement 2 weeks ago on our offline events, and there's a lot of brands starting to contact us, wanting to work with us. But I also tell them that we cannot help everyone. Right? Let's try with a selective of few brands,
Right.
and then let's see how it goes. So we're being very selective right now, picking which Thai brand to go into.
I had a quick follow-up question. How do you see, because I think like, especially in the Philippines, I think like, for example, like Korean beauty brands, Korean beauty care has been really popular recently. Where, like globally speaking, like where does the Thai brand equity when it comes to beauty stack up globally? And do you see it rising or like trending?
If we look at the beauty market across the world, there was so-called the European brands, European big international brands. There was the Japanese brands that stands for quality. There's a Korean brand stands for trends, very K-pop related kind of style. And now there's the Chinese brands, very strong in packaging, very strong in formulations are emerging. But the markets overall as a beauty market is not growing as fast as how landscape has evolved. Right? So let's say taking Thailand, for example, beauty market increased maybe 7 to 8% per year. But the numbers of brands occurring in the markets is like very fast. I can see 20%, 30% of new brands occurring on a yearly basis. Right? So where are they going to steal the market share from? Right? So let's say if there's a lot of new Thai brands, the market share with the 7% growth, then they're going to steal it from international brands. They're going to steal it from Thai, Korean brand, Japanese brand, Chinese brands. So that's how I see it. Right?
Besides advantages, there's just a lot of interest in developing these different kinds of brands and products like that. Again, with the infrastructure that you mentioned. And my last question on trends is in terms of the channels and the whole retail experience, you did talk about virtual reality at one point. And you also mentioned LLMs and AI. Maybe you can speak to some of these trends that you're excited about and how you think they could really impact the industry overall and even Konvy's own experience for its customers.
A few years ago, when we were working with Facebook on the Facebook shoppings, and another year we were working with Google shoppings, right? And now these last 2 years with ChatGPT, all this kind of AI releasing in the markets, I think it's a completely different scale of understanding of how the market will evolve into. The Web 3.0, the AI, the augmented realities, all these are very far from normal people's life. Especially if I'm looking into like countries like Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, they are starting to use Facebook, right? They've been using Facebook for 2 years, and now you're talking about AI, you're talking about all these things. It's complicated. Just talking about programming or e-commerce business in Thailand itself. Thailand is already one of the most innovative digital market in Southeast Asia. E-commerce is still quite new.
Right.
And technology to enable e-commerce for most business is also very new. And now we're talking about just building a team for TikTok is difficult. So if you're talking about AI, it's just so way away from that. But for me, as a person that trying to capture the innovations, I have jumped into the AI studies. I'm learning machine learning myself. I'm learning about large language model myself. We're all preparing. I think people that could capture this would probably capture the next new 5 to 10 years of business. That's how I captured the e-commerce before anyone else in Thailand, right? Because there's no e-commerce. I do e-commerce 10 years ago. And now there's no one doing about beauty AI, beauty, or this augmented realities. That's the time we should get in. We want to get in 3 to 4 years before anyone else. If we're seeing this game as 20 years, 50 years game, getting before people 2 to 3 years is nothing. We should prepare.
Yeah, even if it may not be a central focus from the consumer end, I think it's clear that you guys are already laying down the groundwork. And who knows, we might have a co-pilot in the future recommending new skincare routines based on different inputs, which would be pretty interesting, I think. On that note, yeah, thank you so much for this discussion. I wanted to wrap up everything with our rapid fire round corner. So some fun questions just to end off our conversation. I updated it from our last time, so new questions. First off, what superpower of any one of your C-level colleagues or management team would you want to have?
I would say extrovert, being an extrovert person. Myself is an introvert person, I would say.
Who's the most extroverted in your management team, would you say?
I think Mia, our e-com head, she's a very extrovert person. She gets energy with people. For me, my energy start to suck by people when I'm with a lot of people.
Right.
So I always try to avoid going to the publics. But as a business owner, sometimes you need to be going out there, seeing the publics. So I would like myself to be more comfortable standing in front of many people.
At least you have also podcasts, right? Where you can also get to a large audience without having to be in front of them necessarily.
Yep.
If you were to be invited to produce a Netflix series, what would be the title of the show?
I want to do a series that's related to startups, more realistic type of startups. Maybe it's close to multiple failures. I want to show people that startups is not for everyone, but it could be a very motivational. It's very challenging, but learning the spirit behind a startup business owners could somewhat let you understand being an employee. How could you motivate yourself in times that you're not most happy with, right? You have a lot of questions, doubting about the business owners. You have questions, doubting of the managements. But from another perspective, you could understand why are they making those decisions. So that's something that I would like to share. I think it probably be very helpful for career seeker right now for young people.
I think a nice title actually would be something that you said, not for everyone. You can imagine on Netflix, there's a show not for everyone. And you probably get curious and click what it's about. Looking back now, what's a soft skill or hard skill that you think you should have learned back in your time as a student?
I guess would be, I am a person that love to learn, but I'm not a person that love to read. I have some sort of, I don't like to hold a book and read. And so my speed of reading is very slow. I learn fast, but I read very slow. But thanks for it now, there's a lot of YouTube, there's a lot of videos, so I get to learn there. But if there's one skill that I could have, is to practice reading.
And finally, if you could pick anyone alive or dead to be your 24/7 executive coach, right? If they build like a executive coach AI, right? Like who would that AI be?
I really like to get coached by Bill Gates.
Anything that you would want to know from him in particular?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, for businessmen like us, we seek for a more meaningful values in the world. And Bill Gates has established a lot of great products, right? And the business right now is very sustainable without him. So I want to know how to do that. Right now, he's doing a lot of new projects, which I myself very cheerful for. For example, the sewage systems in Africa, AIDS programs, a lot of biology related diseases. And myself, I self-study a lot of medical topics as well. I like to learn about those. And I would like to learn about those. How could he let the business sustainable and have time to do all this kind of stuff?
That's a huge question of what kind of legacy you want to leave. And yeah, on that note, thanks so much for coming on the show, Qui. It was great having this catch up and being able to talk about all these new things that Konvy has been developing over the past year. And yeah, hopefully have even greater news to share the following years. And if you guys are looking to join Konvy, again, I'll leave the link to Qui's LinkedIn description and in the podcast description, and you guys can reach out and check. On that note, yeah, thanks again so much again, Qui, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Polo. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you for joining us on this call. Make sure you get notified on when to dial in by following us wherever you're listening to us. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, toss in a like, and let us know if you'd like to hear more of this topic in the comments. See you all in our next call.